And it's that time again. What's up, everybody? It's your favorite short-haired, devilishly attractive Mexican here. So gaming is a big part of my life. I have to admit, I love playing video games. Almost too much. And because of that, I decided why not go ahead and take a step beyond just the esports tier list that we did and actually, rank things inside a video game on their design. Hello. Editing Yeston here. So, something I'm surprised I didn't even try to mention during this video is that I could make this a series. If there's like other aspects, maybe of Apex or other games that you want me to like review, like, maybe weapons, characters, environments, let me know. Anyway, back to the video. This won't be a tier list though. This is going to be a normal list. Today I'm going to be ranking the heirlooms in Apex Legends by their design. And by ranking, I mean which one's the best and which one is the worst. So there's not going to be any tiers, none of that. It's going to be in order, my opinion, which means don't get salty in the comments because my opinion differs from yours. Also take into account something that I don't know how many times I've said on this channel. This is based on the design. I don't want you in the comments section of the video being like, oh, but yes, and this one has better inspect animations, and then this one it looks cooler, the animations were better, and the design, the way it looks. So keep that in mind before you decide to continue writing your hate comment. But without further ado, I have Apex booted up and we're going to take a look at the heirlooms. I do warn you though, and this is something that anybody that's been to my streams knows quite well, is that you see, I am recording and playing Apex on the same laptop. So it might be slightly laggy. So here we are at the heirloom shop. I don't have all the heirlooms because I don't have money like that. I have 3 heirlooms. I have Bloodhounds. That was my first one. I have Bangalore's. That was my second one. And that one was a surprise too because it came not so long after Bloodhounds. And then I have Watson's. That's the one that I regret the most. And then I'm not touching the Prestige skin with a 10-foot pole unless somehow I got all the heirlooms first. So I spent a little bit of time going through the heirlooms and taking a good look at them to see how I would pin my rankings. And so now that I've kind of studied them a little bit and made up my mind, we're gonna go through the heirlooms in order from the one that I think is designed the worst to the one that I think is designed the best. So starting off at the very bottom is the one that some people probably figured I was going to put. It's Watson's. Yeah, see, I have it, right? And I regret getting it. The heirloom kind of has grown on me just from my usage. I don't know why, but it grew on me. Not the way that it's designed though, it still looks really, really bad. So when this one came out, most people were annoyed at the fact that it looked stupid. It looked like a barcode scanner. It looked like a weird anorexic gun. It's supposed to be an energy reader. And honestly, it does fit her personality, which is, what most of the heirlooms are supposed to be. So I could understand why they wouldn't give her like a knife or a sword or something like, most of the other heirlooms are. But I feel like there was a better way to go about this. I definitely think they could have stuck with like the energy reader kind of thing to try to like, fit to her nerdy side. The thing is that the way that it's designed just looks so clunky and rushed. You can see here it immediately goes from the energy part that looks like, the device part that looks like where most of the calculations and the functions go in with all the buttons and stuff, right? The fact that it just immediately, it's like a drop off almost, and it just goes right into this straight rectangular prism bar that just sticks out of it. There's like no fluidity whatsoever from this part right here where she holds it to where the little energy sticks come out. And then looking at the little coils on the end, they also just look rushed. They look like they're just kind of slightly attached there you know, it looks like something I drew like as like a little kid. This gives me the vibes of like one of those things where it's like where you want to like draw an energy gun or like just some kind of weapon when you're a child, and you just draw all these weird lines and you just kind of attach things onto it without any sort of fluidity. There's nothing that really makes it make sense why you're attaching something. And that's how I feel with these coils here. They feel just kind of stuck on there. Like there's no reason why they would normally be there. Like you should, honestly, I probably would have put these things in here, in this gap right here that we see, and then like they could kind of like stick out maybe from the end, or maybe they could stick out from the sides. But like the fact that they're just stuck on the end here on this like rectangular prism bar that sticks out, which also looks rushed, like this whole front half just looks rushed. It just looks like they didn't pay it any mind whatsoever. Sorry, Watson is easily the cutest character in the game. She's so wholesome, she's amazing, but she got done dirty. Next up, in 12th place, we have Mirage's Heirloom. And the entire Apex community likes to dog on Mirage's Heirloom, and I am kind of one of those people. Some people interchange it with Watson's as to like which one is the worst. I am not saying it's badly designed at all. To me, it's not that interesting. It's not like much was really done to like think of this heirloom. It fits the character perfectly, but it's a fairly simple pedestal with like a little like plate on it that has like the award name. And then there's like two little speakers in the back with one of those like pulley strings that like you can find on like toys, and when they say something, because you know the trophy it says stuff during the inspect animations. But I mean, the entire trophy is just a gold Mirage. I feel like they probably just took the model of Mirage and, you know, maybe played around a little bit with like the features. They added the freaking coat and the crown on top of his head. And then they just made it gold and reflective, made it really small, and then put it on the pedestal. I feel like they could have done more. Does it fit the character? Yes. Is it my favorite? Hell no. Next up, in 11th place, we have Rampart's Heirloom. This one came out in Season 10. I remember when this came out, everyone was shocked because it came out literally only like 4 seasons after Rampart came out. So it was a little bit strange that, you know, some of the legends before her didn't get theirs first, but you know, it is what it is, I guess. I definitely don't think Rampart's Heirloom is the worst, right? And when you see some of the inspect animations, you know, it's a pretty cool wrench, right? The thing is that, you know, to the design itself, it's just a wrench. There's nothing that fully stands out about this that makes it look like a special wrench at all. Right? You can't know that it does anything special until you look at the inspect animation. It just looks like your fairly basic wrench. There's nothing about it that stands out that gives you the idea that looks interesting, you know, that must do something. Again, I'm not gonna say it's the worst, like, but it's definitely not my favorite. And from a design standpoint, it's just pretty simple and doesn't really give off that wow factor. In 10th place, we have Pathfinders. This is Pathfinder's boxing gloves. Now I want to make something very clear. Pretty much anywhere from Rampart and beyond, I don't think they're bad at all. I just think that maybe others have subtleties or something that just makes them better. So Pathfinder's gloves aren't bad heirlooms whatsoever, right? I just feel like perhaps in terms of design compared to some of the newer ones, they might be just a bit lackluster. The cool thing about them obviously is their displays, where they have these like the terms that you might find in comic books, you know, like boom, pow, ow, you know, those kinds of things that you see on the wristbands. And then in the small displays that are like on the top of the hand, you can see that it changes between like knockout or like the smiley face or just the faces you'll usually see on Pathfinder's chest display. So the fact that those are like constantly interchanging, I think that's just like just a great little design feature that it fits Pathfinder well. Obviously, then the colors, they fit Pathfinder's like base colors. But when you look at them, you know, that's just about it, you know? For the most part, they're just your typical boxing gloves. Sure, they have like these metal pieces because Pathfinder is a robot. So it's supposed to, you know, fit and be able to withstand his robot strength. But like the rest of it is basically just a boxing glove. There's not too much to be said in terms of interesting things about it. Sure, you know, compared to like normal boxing gloves, you could see in here there's like serrated foam. That way it kind of like bends really easily because he doesn't have hands in there. So I mean, you know, that's a slight little design cue, just because of who it's going on. There's no hands to support the mitt part, so there has to be a different way that they are supported. I like that, but for the most part, they are just boxing gloves, and there's not too much interesting about them in terms of their design. Next up, in 9th place, I have Lifelines. I like Lifeline shock sticks, and honestly, I almost considered getting these over Bangalore's, but then I realized that Bangalore fits my playstyle a lot more, and Bangalore's grew on me a lot. Like, I really like Bangalore's now. Lifeline shock sticks are really interesting. You can see in some of her animations, she uses them as drumsticks because she's like a drummer. I know that there's definitely always going to be people that are confused why she has like shock sticks and why Watson doesn't. You know, Watson's the electric girl. Why does Lifeline have anything related to electricity? But you remember the Lifeline is a medic, and shock sticks defibrillator. So they're cool looking, right? You know, you have the like pop culture stickers and like the freaking little drawings and graffiti or whatever, like just kind of all over them, which fits her character very well. And so they are quite eccentric looking, but you know, they still like look cool. I also like that they are extendable, you know, they're tubes that can fit inside each other, make them shorter, make them longer. They have the little bands on the bottom to be able to like slip them in your wrists and like hold them a lot better. Overall, they are a pretty simple design, you know. The little bit of complication per se that they have is the pop culture stickers, the graffiti, the drawings, the doodles that are like all over the like length of the shock sticks. But then, you know, like you look at the rest of the form and they're not the most interesting. They're pretty much just a few cylinders with a little bit of contour to them that are kind of fit inside of each other, and that's about it. They're not the most interesting in terms of design, but you know, they're still kind of cool. Next up, in 8th place, I have Bangalore's pilot knife. Obviously, Bangalore in the lore was never a pilot. She almost became one, but she was not. She stole this off of a pilot she killed. It's a really cool looking knife, right? It's got the little bend right here at this weird like elbow, which at first I thought was kind of strange when I looked at it, but you know, it kind of gives it like this cool, like slightly more menacing look. This cutout that it has like in the blade, I don't know why it interests me so much, but like it looks like it's good for grappling, which when you think to the like through the lore of Titanfall, it makes sense because pilots were wall runners and they would grapple to walls. So pilot knife, grappling to wall, this little grapple right here makes perfect sense. That, and if you stab someone with that, that's going to be really painful to pull out. The glow on the edge of the blade, like this yellow glow, it's just, I don't know, it's like this, it looks cool. It gives it more of a sense of just energy flowing through it. And since it's a pilot's knife, you know, it really makes you feel like that power that pilots had and the fear that they imposed. Also remember, the yellow is typically associated with fear. It's also associated with bananas, so it makes it a little bit strange that the little sheath here kind of looks like a banana. Next up, in 7th place, we have Wraith's Heirloom. Now, I love Wraith's Heirloom. I really do. And I know that some people are probably mad at me for putting it this low, but I feel like maybe some of the newer heirlooms have kind of They've kind of overshadowed it just a little bit, but there's still a lot to unpack in this very simplistic design that Respawn decided to go with. I like the subtle details. Like when you look at the heirloom in the center part, like you see these lines right here where the glowing part is, and then the middle part where you have the quieto and stuff. It's more messy. The texture is a lot more gritty, and you can even see like a slight pattern right here towards the tip that kind of fades towards the back, but then you can also see it a little bit on the hilt over here. Like there used to be a pattern here, but through so much usage that Wraith actually, you know, gave it, that pattern has just slowly kind of eroded. The harsh contrast between the texturized center and then the clean and very sleek edges, which obviously, you know, comes from the sharpening and whatever. It's just a really nice touch. And then it almost, and this might be me reaching, but it almost kind of makes you think about the character that owns the blade. Wraith as a character is a very messy person in terms of emotionally and as a person, but she has that edge to her that is just like this sleek bad girl, I'm going to beat the shit out of you kind of person. That focused and willful person that, you know, has like no texture, like no issues, no errors to her. But then, you know, underneath, inside, she is quite messy emotionally and mentally. Overall, I feel like there's a lot of meaning in there that probably isn't fully explained to us, and you know, that's what I tried explaining right now. Again, it might be kind of reaching, but I think that it definitely fits in the spot where I put it, you know, just because it's been overshadowed a little bit, but definitely there's meaning in there that is not outright told to us. Next up, in 6th place, I'm putting Bloodhounds. Bloodhounds was my first heirloom. It's the one that I decided to get because it's really clean. The red energy that's like flowing through the blade, like on the edge right here, it's like a subtle touch with like a lot of these blades, like Wraiths and Bangalore's heirlooms. Like it just gives it this sense of like power, like something's flowing through it. The fact that you can see that same red energy though flowing like on the tongue and in the eyes of the raven on the other end of the hatchet, it's a fantastic subtle detail. And it really starts to make you make the connection as to where that power is coming from. Bloodhound does worship the Old Norse gods. You can hear them in a lot of their quips constantly saying and talking about the Allfather being Odin. And Odin's birds were ravens. Seeing the energy flowing not only through the raven, but then through the rest of the hatchet. And even in the runes that are down here, you can see some of the red energy flowing in the runes. It tells you, hey, the Allfather is with Bloodhound. The subtle details of the runes and then making it look like even you can see like feathers. It kind of feels like the raven is the axe, you know? Like all this back here is just like the raven moving, like in movement almost. Like it's all kind of like revolving around the raven and putting a big emphasis into what is important here. The hilt is very nice. There was a lot of detail that was put into like the weave and like the animation and the modeling of the weave, and it looks very realistic, looks very nice. Like most axes from olden days, this is exactly how their handles were made. The little charms on the bottom are also a nice little touch, probably obviously going to be related something to the religion. Next up in 5th place, I have Caustic's Death Hammer. Caustic's Death Hammer is, some people see it as a disappointment of an heirloom and other people really love it. And I'm going to tell you exactly why I like it. First off, they didn't try going with like a small hammer, because the thing is, like, huge heirlooms, sometimes people fear that they'll get in the way on the screen and that, you know, it's going to be more like pay to lose if you have them there. What I like about the Death Hammer is that they still decided to make it a larger heirloom. The sharp edges right here on the corners, and then the spike, the just singular spike in the middle. And the fact that all the paint, the yellow paint, is just completely wiped off of it. It shows you that Caustic has been using this hammer. He's been killing something. It fits his personality very well. He's a psychopath. The skull on the back, just with like the gas mask on and then the glowing eyes, that's just also just, it's a really cool touch. And the fact that they were able to make the hammer flow with that skull, the fact that they were able to actually fit it in there and made it look like it belonged, that helps a lot too. We know that from the inspect animations, you know, the gas comes out of the skull, which I know I said I wasn't really going to be judging this on inspect animations, but the reason that I can here is because you can see the mechanisms that actually get that gas to come out. You have the spinning gas canister with the tubes that lead directly to this little gas mask right here on the skull. So yes, it's an inspect animation thing, but it's an exterior part of the design as well. It's a functional-ish hammer, and then of course you have the freaking lever down here that also is what controls that. Overall, just by its like menacing presence almost, and like what it stands for, and the fact that it just looks like a cool badass hammer, you know, I definitely think that it belongs here. Following Caustic's in 4th place, I'm putting Gibby's heirloom. Some people liked it, some people didn't, but I do like it. There's a lot of detail and pattern in like these designs that you see here. Remember that Gibby is Polynesian. So a lot of this is supposed to connect to symbolism in Polynesian culture. There's a little charm that is also attached here, which is obviously going to connect to Gibby's Polynesian culture. But it also looks kind of like it's just like one piece almost, except for the blade itself and like probably these metal bits right here. But all this, the hilt, the handle, it looks like it's all one piece. Or at least, you know, maybe like two halves, because you could see the screws. So it's almost like you would screw two halves together. It's like this mix of the culture that Gibby has and like the days of old with like this newer technology. The fact that this looks like modern and technological almost. It looks industrial. And then you have the energy flowing through it. You know, it looks kind of like a fire almost. Or if you notice here in this pattern, it's the sun. So maybe not fire, but like the burning, like just lights of like the morning or the dusk sun over the ocean. Having these heirlooms with the energy flowing, it's always a part of the design that is overlooked and seen more so just like as effects. But it does add to the design. It's what gives it more presence. Like if you didn't have this flowing energy through it at all and it was just like some normal blade, the reality is that it just wouldn't have as much presence whatsoever. The little detail of the glowing like energy right here on the inside as well is just like extremely important, and it shows A, how thick these blades actually are, and B, just like how much energy is actually flowing through it. It's completely orange. I like also that with this war club, they didn't decide to just go with like a nice flat blade, kind of like maybe like, I mean, it looks kind of like an axe, you know. It's called a war club, but it's basically an axe. But you know, if they decide to go with like the freaking just nice clean blade, kind of like bloodhounds, then it just kind of takes away from a little bit. So the fact that they went with instead this more gear looking pattern, I think that was just overall more successful. In third place, I'm putting Revenant's Scythe. This overall is a very successful heirloom in terms of design. As you can see, sometimes during the animation, this part right here, this circle, this disc, it spins and then it causes the blade to lift and then separate itself. And it's just cool. And it fits the character very well. He always does these weird bends and like things with his body, and it's just able to like move in a way that's just not natural. And so seeing the blade able to do that as well, especially here down here, you can see that there is a hinge where the like two halves of the handles are supposed to like fold in on each other. Just like all this movement that the blade is able to have, it fits with the character very well. And then also just the design of the handle itself, like most scythes had like just a straight pull. This one is all bent and like out of shape. It's like curved, and it's got this weird just like bent zigzaggy sort of design. The separating of the blade with like the little circle separators too, like I don't know why, I feel like it's just like an added like detail that like is just very nice. When it separates, you can notice like the two linkages on each side of the circle that keep like the pieces of the blade together. Yeah, Revenant's blade, it's designed very nicely. It's very clean. You can see the like the shadow energy flowing through it, and it's just it's so cool. It's menacing, it's dark looking. I love it. I freaking love this thing. In second place, we have Octane's heirloom. Low-key, it's between this, Wraiths, and Bangalore's that like I want to like try to get a model, like one of those like ones that you can like find on Etsy or something that people make out of metal. I want one in real life. The only thing is that I currently should be more financially responsible given rising gas prices. We can see the liquid moving inside. That is the stem that he uses, and then the needle that comes out of it. It sucks that he doesn't actually use this when you have the heirloom as like the stem, but you know, it's there anyway, and it's just a fantastic feature. The fact you can see the stem moving inside, the vial is just there inside the blade, and the needle just sticking out with like a little bit of green on the tip, like to show stem coming out. That is already like a fantastic feature to it. The blade itself is very sharp and it's ornate. It has like the ornate pattern. You can see a skull that's like right there in the pattern on the top, and then like just these little lines that like are just on the sides right here. They're just added little details that are painted on. It fits very well with his heritage too when you think about it, because remember that Octane is half Spaniard, half Mexican. So it kind of fits to that culture, like the whole like death daredevil kind of thing, the Dia de los Muertos type of thing, you know? It's kind of, it has the like the skulls all over it, almost to show Octane ain't afraid of death. The blade is clean. It's clean overall. The ornate gold details, not only up here where it connects to the blade, the handles connect to the blade, but then also down here, just having these like little gold bumpers and then the edging right here on the holes. It's just fantastic detail. The little lock right here that is what you kind of flip over to like keep the handles locked too. It's just, it's a fantastic little detail. The texture that's on the handles themselves too, it looks great. This one they definitely took their time with, and it's definitely appreciated because design wise you can notice a lot of small little details that make it just stand out the most and make it look so good. Last but not least, we have the newest heirloom, the B1 blade. This is Crypto's heirloom. It's the brand new one. I would totally get this if I could, but again, money. This there's so much I can say about this heirloom. It is so cool. It's a very clean blade, but then as we've seen, and as you can see with like the separations right here, there's like the little lines that show that there's separation. The blade, kind of like Revenant's, is able to move. The only thing that is that it can collapse and rebuild itself, which is fantastic cool. You can also see right here, sometimes this part, the hilt, like the top of the hilt, it opens up, and then that's where like the pieces of the blade kind of collapse in on themselves. So you can like pretty much, it's almost like a lightsaber that's not a lightsaber, but it's just made of metal. The little controls, like you see the joystick, the password Rubik's Cube looking type thing that he uses for like the passwords and like to code and stuff, and to like run commands, almost like kind of like his little control that he uses for the drone. This part down here opens up, I'm assuming it's like the little power source, because you can see like the glow right here. So this is probably where the power goes. Small little charm right here. It looks like it's a Korean coin. And then we know that this part opens up right here, so it's kind of like it has like a hidden compartment, which is just another fantastic part to the design of the heirloom itself. The way that the white, the green, and the black are mixed together too is actually done quite well, surprisingly. Overall, design wise, it's sleek, it works. Again, the mix of the technology with like this very sharp blade, this very cool collapsible rebuildable blade, it's just a really cool heirloom overall. And design wise, it's sharp as hell. It looks so cool. This is kind of where I go back to what I said during Wraith's heirloom, is that some of these newer heirlooms, even like not you know, put aside like the inspect animations or whatever, just in terms of design, they're improving, they're kind of stepping up their game with each one. Sure, you have a few outliers like Mirages and Watsons, but they're slowly kind of like trying to one up their previous designs, and you know, it's very clear with this one right here. And that was my order. If you agree with my order, cool. If you feel like maybe there are some things that I overlooked, or maybe some things that I should reconsider, let me know. But that was my opinion. Just remember, again, this is in terms of the design of the heirlooms themselves. I might go back while editing this, or I might go back, I don't know, a week, 2 weeks later, a month, 2 months later, rewatch this and think, yeah, I don't fully agree with that anymore. But hey, again, my opinions. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, turn on the post notifications. Follow me on my socials, my Twitter, my Instagram, my Twitch, and my TikTok. Those links are all down in the description. I have streamed Apex about 2 times or so in the past month and a half. I want to try to stream more, so if you guys want to see me stream more, head over to Twitch. You know, I'll be live sometimes. I don't have a set schedule because, you know, my schedule for making videos is weird. My schedule for streaming is going to be even weirder. But yeah, I hope that wherever you are, whenever you are watching this video, you have a great and wonderful day. I will see you guys in my next video. Peace. I love my brother love me, yeah. We all get money, yeah. I love my brother love me.